Good day to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for today's session. In today's session, we are going to discuss about IAS2. And we already know that International Accounting Standard 2, IAS2, is basically about inventories. What are inventories? What do we mean by inventories? How inventories are valued? How they are measured initially, subsequently, and so on. So these are our contents for IAS2 for today's session. First of all, we will be discussing what is inventory, what is the definition of inventory, what is meaning of inventory, how inventory can be classified. Then we will discuss about initial measurement. What do we mean by initial measurement? Initial measurement means initially how we can measure our inventory, because we know if there is an inventory and we have to record our inventory into our financial statement. So at what value it can be recorded. After initial measurement, we will be discussing what are the measurement methods, because we have already talked about a lot of areas, lot of points in previous studies. So we will be having a quick overview what are the measurement methods. Then we will be discussing what is subsequent measurement, because after initial measurement, it's time for subsequent measurement. Then we will discuss some of the very important and key points for IAS2. These key points are also the technical points for IAS2. Then we will be discussing two examples for our inventory scenario. And finally, our session will be closed on disclosures. So after disclosures, we will be taking up questions from all of you, and then we will be closing our session for today. So these are the contents for our today's session. So let's start with the basic term, that is basically what is inventory. Inventory is basically any item that is for resale purposes in ordinary course of business is called inventory. Now point is that any item that is for resale purposes, these are two important things, that is resale purposes and that is in ordinary course of business. Because normally people think if there is a building or if there is a property, so either this building or property might be classified according to IAS 16, or on property we can also apply IAS 40. Yes, this could be true or this could not be true, because when we are talking about, when we are studying the advanced level, so it is important to know the intention. What is the intention of an entity? What is the purpose of holding an asset? Basically, either it is for resale purposes, either it is for production of goods or supply of services in case of IAS 16, either it is for capital appreciation or rental purposes in case of IAS 40. So your asset is same if you are going to change its usage. If you are going to change your intention, then definitely classification of your asset will be changed entirely. Your accounting standard will be changed entirely. Any item might be classified from IAS 2 to IAS 16, or from IAS 16 to IAS 40, or they can be interchanged subsequently. So you have to be very careful, because sometimes people think if a word of building or property has been used, so it cannot be inventory. It could be inventory, because it will depend on intention of an entity, for which purpose you are going to use out, for which purpose you are going to hold your asset. So any item that is for resale purposes, it is going to be called as an inventory, because when you bought that asset, then your intention was you will hold it for some period of time. There might be some modification, you will incur significant cost, and then you will resell it. So definitely your business model is going for purchase and sale. Now second highlighted word is basically ordinary course of business. Yes, it is important for inventory, for ISO, it must be in ordinary course of business. It means it should be your business. It's a nature, it's a normal business. For example, If there is an individual, Mr. A, and Mr. A sells his motorbike due to some personal problem, definitely when Mr. A will sell its motorbike, so definitely he will get some cash. So do you think in this case he is selling out his motorbike, so it will be inventory? No, because at the time of purchase its intention was not going to sell it out. Basically he is selling out his motorbike in financial circumstances, in financial difficulty. It is not an ordinary business of Mr. A. So if it is not an ordinary course, if it is not a business of Mr. A, so definitely this transaction will not be classified as an inventory. Because sometimes some people think if anything is going to be sold out, so it will be inventory. No, it is not an inventory. That's why it is necessary. It must be in ordinary course of business. If it is ordinary course of business, so it can be inventory, it will be inventory. Otherwise, it will not be inventory, it will be something else. Now, next point is basically about initial measurement. What is initial measurement? Initial measurement means initially how we are going to record our inventory. Inventories are initially measured and recorded at cost. We will discuss after a few minutes what do we mean by cost. So according to IS2, inventories are measured at cost. Now let's define what do we mean by cost. And our costs include purchase price, purchase cost, conversion cost, and any other cost to bring the asset in its current condition and location. This is called as cost. So let's discuss what do we mean by purchase cost, conversion cost, and any other cost, and what other costs are included in its cost measurement. Purchase cost includes purchase price, definitely, but you have to deduct your discounts and rebates. Rebates are also another type of discount. Import duties, yes, definitely. If you are going to buy something from another country, so you have to pay import duties according to applicable rates. Irrecoverable taxes, yes. Before we discuss the irrecoverable taxes, taxes are of two types. Taxes are of two types. First of all, these are recoverable taxes. What are recoverable taxes? Recoverable taxes are taxes, those taxes which will be recovered. Either you can say like sales tax. Sales tax. For example, if there is a buyer, if there is a seller, so definitely through input tax, output tax, so your tax is going to be recovered. But when we talk about irrecoverable taxes, so irrecoverable taxes mean your taxes are not going to be recovered. These are called as irrecoverable taxes. So if your taxes are not going to be recovered, then what you have to do, definitely you have to charge these taxes to cost of an item. So you will charge those taxes to cost of an item. So cost of an item, definitely its cost is selling price would be paid by a customer. So definitely VAT, sales tax, selling taxes are finally being paid by final consumer. So irrecoverable taxes will be paid by customers or consumers. Then we also have transport and handling costs. Yes, definitely. If you are transporting, if you are relocating your material from one place to another place, one city to another city, so there will be some sort of transport cost. Apart from transport costs, there will be handling costs. So if there are some sort of materials and if you have to handle them properly, definitely there will be some cost to handle them. And directly attributable cost. This is something very, very important cost, but that is directly attributable. Directly attributable mean we can directly allocate those costs to your particular inventories. So that's why it is called as directly attributable cost. Let me repeat it again. Purchase cost includes your purchase prices, and you have to deduct discounts, rebates, and you have to add import duties, irrecoverable taxes. Make sure you only include irrecoverable taxes and do not include recoverable costs, recoverable taxes into your purchase cost calculation. After this, you will also include transport costs, handling costs, and any other directly attributable cost. Then next point is basically about conversion cost. What is conversion cost? As its name shows, conversion cost means you have to convert. You have to convert your material. For example, if you buy the raw material, so definitely what you will do, so on raw material, you will go for further processing, and this raw material will be converted into work in progress. And definitely after work in progress, it will be finished good. And then those finished goods are going to be sell out basically. So what you are basically incurring the cost either in the form of materials, labors, expenses, and many other areas as well. So materials, labor, and expenses will be incurred. Apart from these, there will be some fixed and variable production overheads basically. So there will be some fixed and variable production overheads that will be a part of your conversion cost. Now let's define the word. What do we mean by overhead? Overheads are basically indirect cost of making a product. So you will include our direct costs, and you will also include your indirect costs that is being required to complete your product, to complete your inventory. If you are saying that we have fixed and variable production overhead, so definitely there must be some basis. There must be some suitable basis for allocation of those overheads basically. So those fixed production overheads and variable production overheads will be charged according to your normal level of activity. Like what is the total cost, how much units, how much pieces, how much hours have been used for particular item, and how much variables, how much fixed overheads can be charged to particular item. Lastly, we have abnormal wastage, storage costs, administration costs, and selling costs must be excluded from valuation, and they must be charged as an expense in the period in which they are being incurred. Why we are saying this? Because there are two types of wastages. First of all, it is a normal loss. Second, it is an abnormal loss. So normal loss is something that is assumed to be a part of business processes. But abnormal loss is due to some other reason. That's why abnormal wastage, storage costs, administration costs will not be a part of your valuation, and they will be charged as an expense. Why they will be charged as an expense? For example, you have a store, you have a warehouse, and in your warehouse, let's say 1 million items have been stored, 1 million items of different classes, class A, class B, and class C have been saved. So definitely there will be lot of complication, there will be lot of other areas. So it includes, that is a indirect cost. So storage costs, administration costs, selling costs are excluded from your valuation, because your administration department is involved in a lot of areas, in a lot of activities. So you cannot say how much time of admin department was being spent on your storage warehouse, how much time was being allocated on salaries and many other points. Definitely, if you cannot allocate, so it will not be a part of cost, it will be an indirect cost, and it will be charged as an expense in the period in which it is incurred. So on this slide, on this page, we discuss 3 points: purchase costs, conversion costs, and abnormal wastages. Moving forward, we have measurement methods. Measurement methods mean how we can measure our inventory cost. According to ICAW, there are two different methods for inventory valuation. First of all, FIFO, that is first in, first out. Second, it is AFCO, or it is called as weighted average cost. First in, first out, FIFO mean, for example, you are going to sell out your item, what you have purchased earlier. Then weighted average cost mean you will go for average out of all of the cost, all of the item, and then you will see how much cost do we have basically. So this is called as weighted average cost or FCO. I believe that first in first out method and FCO method has been discussed in detail in our earlier studies. Now we have subsequent measurements, subsequent methods basically. Initially, we were talking about we are going to value our inventory on cost. But if we talk about subsequently, subsequently mean later on. After initial measurement, what valuation methods, what techniques we can use for inventory valuation. Yes, inventories may be sold below cost if they are damaged. Yes, definitely. If something is being damaged, if something is being obsolete, so it will be sold out at its below cost. It will be sold out at its lower price. So if something inventories are going to be sold out below cost, then it means there is a decline in demand, or your market is increasingly competitive. There will be a huge competition. If there is a huge competition, if there is a reduced demand, if your inventory items are being damaged or obsolete, then definitely what you are going to do, you are going to sell your inventories below cost. So if you will sell your inventories below cost, so what will happen? There will be a loss, and this loss will be recorded in your profit and loss statement, P&L statement basically. Secondly, and that's a very common and very normal rule, because when someone asks about inventories, then students just mention only one line, that is, it is basically inventories are recorded at lower of cost and not. No, it is not just thing. You also have to understand what are the logics basically. Inventories must be written down to lower of cost and net realizable value, that is NRV basically. Whatever is lower, you are going to record it at a lower of. Let's take an example. So you bought an item and its cost was, let's say, $100. But there were some issues, and let's say due to some issues either these were damaged, so that's why its price has been reduced, and now you think it will be sold out at $80. So if it will be sold out at $80, so what you are going to do, you are going to record a loss of, definitely that will be of $20. That is called as loss. So what you are going to do, you are going to record your inventory at lower of cost or NRV. That's why it is called as loss basically. If someone think they have to record their inventories at higher of and not lower of, so what will happen? So if you will record your inventory in your financials at this value, if you will record your inventory at this value, so definitely at year end when there will be an audit, so you will be mentioning that my inventory valuation is $100, but in actual market its price is $80. So what you are going to do, you are going to claim a loss. Definitely for loss, you know that there will be a tax relief and many other reliefs as well. So that's why according to IAS 2, you will record your inventories at lower of cost and net realizable value. This is something very, very, very important. So it has implications for financial reporting purposes, and also it has implications for your tax accounting as well. So you have to be very, very careful. Now let's talk about what do we mean by NRV, that is net realizable value. This is NRV or net realizable value. Realizable means what we are going to realize, what we are going to achieve. So it is basically the estimated proceeds from selling the inventory less completion and selling cost. So net realizable value is estimated proceeds from selling out your inventory, and you have to deduct your completion and selling cost. This is called as net realizable value. So what you are going to realize after sale, this is called as net realizable value. And these are the estimated proceeds basically. So you will deduct your completion cost, cost of completion, and you will also deduct your selling cost. Like it could be selling commission, transport cost, or any other cost, but that should be your selling cost. So on this page, we discuss about our subsequent measure of inventories. Now let's discuss some of the key points for our inventories basically. As we were discussing initially, inventories are measured at cost. Subsequently, they can be measured, they can be written down below cost here as well. Raw materials are not written down below cost. If finished good, they will be a part of a profit. Like for example, you think your raw material are going to be sold at $80, but you purchase those raw material at $100. Raw material initially you purchased, let's say on 01/01/2021, but later on after 3 months you think your raw material price has declined and now it will be sold at $80. So there is an obvious loss of $20. $20 is a loss. But you think this raw material can be used. So what we can do, from this raw material, we can further process, we can further incur our cost, and in the form of finished goods, we can sell out something at $200. So let's say this is our selling price, SP, and let's say our raw material cost was $100, and further we incurred $40. So in short, our total cost is $140. Our selling price is $200. So in this case, we have a profit, and our profit is $60. So $60 is the profit. Now just compare two situations. In first situation, you are having a loss of $20. In second situation, you are having a profit of $60. So what you are going to do basically as a human man, as a good finance manager, as a good accountant, definitely you should think about your profit. You should not go for your loss. You should consider such actions, such areas which will increase your profitability in a good and ethical manner. So if raw material can be sold out, that's fine, but you should not go for raw material if they can be a part of your finished goods basically. But there is another point. However, if there is a decline in raw material prices, if there is a decline in raw material prices, then it suggests that your NRV has been reduced significantly. So what you are going to do, so you are going to use your replacement cost basically. So in this case, your replacement cost will provide you an evidence for your NRV. Let me repeat it again. If your purchase price, if your purchase cost of raw material has been changed, has been decreased, then it means your NRV has also decreased, because if your buying cost has changed, definitely your selling price will also be achieved. Second point, for NRV, according to IAS2, similar items can be grouped together. What we can do, we can make a list, we can make a group, assuming that they are being sold in same market. Yes, this is something very, very important, because if your market is different, so definitely in different markets, different prices might be charged. For example, In your market of Pakistan, it could be a different price. In market of UAE, in market of United Kingdom, in market of USA. So in different markets, your same components, same items might have different prices. So it is something very, very important. If you are going to make a group for similar item, then you must ensure that those are being sold out in your same market. If market is different, then definitely you cannot group together your similar items. Last one, that is basically sale of inventory after your reporting date. If your inventory has been sold out after your reporting date, then it is a strong evidence. It is a strong evidence of what? Strong evidence of your NRV, basically. It means there was some value for your NRV at your reporting date. Why? Because you are selling out your inventory after your reporting date, after your year end. So definitely there was some value at your reporting date at your year end, basically. And it is a strong evidence for your NRV at your reporting date. You can easily calculate and you can use those values for your financial reporting purposes. Now let's have some example just to make sure, just to clear our concept in a more better way and discuss it. First of all, let's read out the requirement. In accordance with IAS 2 inventories. In accordance with IAS 2 inventories, at what amount? Question is, at what amount should the above items be valued? So we have to calculate. We have to calculate a value for our IAS 2 inventories, basically. Now we are much clear about our requirement. We have to calculate the amount for inventories. Now let's read out the data. Raw materials costing $12,000 bought for processing and assembly for a profitable special order. They have been bought for processing and assembly for a profitable special order. Since buying these items, the cost price of raw material has fallen. So your purchase price, your cost price has been decreased to $10,000 from your $12,000, basically. Let me repeat it again. Initially, you purchased your raw material at $12,000, but due to some factors, your purchase price has been reduced and now it is $10,000. What is our requirement? At what amount should the above items be valued? Either it will be 12,000 or it will be $10,000, basically. You people can take 1 to 2 minutes and then we can discuss. Be careful, there is a trick in this question. Read our example again and then mention your answer with logic. Inventories will be valued at 12,000. Will be valued at 12,000 and not the 10,000, basically. Why? What's the reason? If you will look at again, the cost price of raw material has fallen to $10,000. If your cost price has changed, now it's a new cost. It's basically a replacement cost. So our 10,000 value is basically a replacement cost. 12,000 is basically our initial cost. You can say our purchase price. And according to IAS 2, what we have to do, we have to record our inventories at lower of cost or NRV. Cost was $12,000. there was no value given for NRV. So what we are going to do, we are going to use this cost of $12,000. Sometimes some people will think that $10,000 is an NRV, so we can use the $10,000. No, $10,000 is basically not an NRV, it's a replacement cost. Why? Because your cost price has changed. If it states like your market conditions has changed and your selling price has changed, definitely now in that case it will be NRV. But no, it's a cost price that has been fallen. If your cost has fallen, it's a new cost, it's a revised cost, and it will be called as a replacement cost. IAS 2 valuation states that you have to use lower of rule, lower of cost, and NRV, and we must use 12,000 and we should not use $10,000. And this is an answer. Raw materials are not written down below cost. If finished good, they will farm, they can be sold out. So inventories will be valued at the cost of $12,000 and not at $10,000 basically. Now let's discuss our example 2 basically. What is our example 2? In example 2, in accordance with IAS 2 inventories, at what amount should the above items be valued? So what we have to do? So we have to calculate what value we can use for our IAS 2 inventories basically. Now let's read out our data. Always read your data very carefully. Read out your requirements at least 2 to 3 times. So you should be very clear. There are many other tips, many other ways how you should handle your data, how you should read out your requirement, and we will discuss all of those points in our complete session. Equipment constructed for a customer for an agreed price of $18,000. This has recently been completed at a cost of $16,800. You have an agreed price of $18,000. Your order has been recently completed at a cost of $16,800. It has now been discovered that in order to meet certain regulation, conversion with an extra cost of $4,200. This $4,200 is basically an extra cost will be required. So definitely there are some new laws, some new regulation, and you have to incur $4,200 to make sure that you can use that particular equipment. So definitely you have to incur this cost of $4,200. So who is going to share this cost? Who is going to bear this cost? Either customer or the company. Let's read it out. The customer has accepted partial responsibility. What do you mean by partial responsibility? Some sort of responsibility, and they have agreed mutually to meet half the extra cost. It means both customer, both buyer and seller will share costs, will share this additional cost in terms of 50-50. In total, that is 4,250. So half of this cost, 50% of this cost will be made by buyer and 50% of this cost will be borne by seller in this case basically. So what we are going to do, we are going to use these values for our valuation purposes. So what you are going to do, you people can take 2 to 3 minutes of time, read out the scenario, and then share your answer, and then I will discuss how we can solve this. Okay, we were discussing, now we have some answer. So if you look at this question, then we have an agreed price of $18,000. We have a cost of 16,800, and we have an extra cost of 4,200. So this cost of 4,200 will be divided equally. So it will be 2,100 for customer and 2,100 for buyer as well. So there are two things. Sometimes some students will think like this cost will be increased, like 16,800 adding up 2,100 here as well. So then we will be having our answer like it is 18,900. But this is not right. Why? The reason is that your product has recently been completed and its cost is 16,800. So you have completed your product and now its cost is 16,800. So what you are going to do, you have an agreed price of 18,000. You have to incur 2,100 extra. So definitely your profit, your margin will be reduced. So it will be 15,900 basically. Let me repeat it again. You have an agreed price of 18,000, but now you have to incur 2,100 extra. So what we are going to do, definitely your margin, your profit is going to be reduced from this 18,000. So it will be 15,900 in this case, basically. You will not add up 2,100 in 16,800. No, it will be 15,900 basically. At this value, you will go for your valuation into your financial statements basically. So this value will be used in your financial statement. But if you will talk about the buyer's perspective, so definitely you can mention your cost is 18,900. But if you will talk about, if you will discuss seller's point of view, it will be 15,900 in this case, basically. You can see this answer and then we will move forward. So you can see your contract price is 18,000. Modification cost is 2,100. Yes, definitely. In total, it was 4,200, but share of modification that was 50%. So it comes out to be 2,100. So your net realizable value, obviously 18,000 deducting 2,100, it comes out to be 15,900. Your net realizable value is 15,900. It is below. Yes, definitely. Your cost is 18,000. Your NRV is 15,900. You will apply lower of. So inventories should be recorded at lower of cost and NRV. In this case, it is going out to be 15,900 and not the 18,000 basically. So this was the answer. This is a particular solution for your IAS2 example in this case. Regarding talking about disclosures, we have very small disclosures because IAS2 inventories is a very small standard. Entities should disclose the total carrying amount of inventories by category, details of inventories carried at net realizable value using the cost. So there could be a lot of other disclosures up. But in our exam, as we are talking about exam perspective, so you should not be too much worried about your disclosures basically. So this was our first session for our IAS2 inventories basically. Now it's a question answer session. If you people have any question, then we can discuss. As I mentioned, this was our first session. In coming session, we will also be discussing our other point. So if you people are interested, definitely you can join us, and these are our contact details basically. Now, It's over to you. Any questions, please let me know so I can answer all of your questions. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. See you in next session.